Welcome to the Happy Humanoid's Perspective, where your beliefs are challenged, thoughts provoked, and where you may find your happy place whether you like it or not.
And here are your hosts, Edith and Miles. Woohoo!
Welcome everyone to our show. My name is Miles, and this is episode number 23. And I'm an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator. Woohoo! I'm joined by...
Hello everyone, my name is Edith Paul, and I'm an Access Consciousness Facilitator as well. So welcome to our show. Tonight, the topic is...
Yes, the topic.
Are you trying to make a gator your pet? Creating a new reality in relationship.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What the heck kind of title is that? Who came up with that?
Guess who?
Well, we were at the, we have a little pond where we're living here, and there's a gator that visits periodically. And so today we went out and visited the gator, and it's just, we gave him his space, didn't get too close. I thought that metaphor.
But it's the first time we're so close, though.
Yeah.
About 50 feet. That was so cool to be close to.
Closer later on, but yeah, 50 feet, and then he went back into the water. He was on the land. And so I thought it was an interesting metaphor for relationships and how we try to create situations or follow different points of view or different definitions of what relationship is. It's like the gator. Like the gator, for example, if you try to make someone who you want them to be, or if you try to, for example, make a gator a pet, you know, it's like the gator is a gator. He's like, for many eons has been a gator. He's been around for a long time. He has a certain way of doing things. He's comfortable doing those things, or she. And if you try to make a gator a pet, it's like you have to go against really what this gator is about, you know, the way that he or she functions, the way that he or she works, their MO in the world. And by trying to change that gator, you're going to have a lot of struggle. Try to make that gator a pet, you're going to have to go through a lot of hardship. And yeah, it could be done, but the gator's probably not going to be happy. And you're going to put yourself in a lot of danger, probably, to learn how to tame the gator. It's like, do you really want to even tame the gator? So that's what I thought, just how in relationships I've noticed, my own previous relationships as well, that we try to get the other person to be a certain way, or we try to change ourselves to fit what they think, what we think they are expecting of us. So that's some of the topics we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, and for me, the kind of relationship I have with you, Miles, is so different than what I could say, maybe, I was expecting a certain way, or I had all these expectations about what a great relationship is. How the other person is supposed to behave, supposed to say, almost supposed to breathe. That can go this way too. Exactly. And then when I found Access is about pragmatic. It's about doing whatever works. It's not about emotion. It's not about it's not about all the lies from this reality that what love is. It's not about that. And it's not about, and for me too, in that kind of relationship that we live, first, it's so great for me to be in this relationship. Let's be clear here. I discover so much about me. I clear so much stuff that I keep myself stuck in. And our relationship is, for me, and I think it's the same for you, Miles, it's such a contribution.
Yeah.
Our relationship is we could not be, well, I'm going to talk for me. I could not be who I am. I could not create as much as I create right now if Miles was not in my life. And that's what a relationship is about, is when the person is included in your life, you create more, because the person is a contribution into your life. It's supposed to be a contribution. It's not about trying to deal with whatever is the other person. It's about, hey, and for me, the word that is really important is allowance. Allowance of the other person, allowance of me. And yeah, it's so, it brings me in a totally new reality about, and I learned so much in this. So everything that is brought up by what I just said, well, we don't create and destroy it all times a godzillion.
Yes. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock on, and shorts, boys and meows. Yeah, I want to touch on something that you said, Edith, about being a contribution. It's not to be confused with being dependent on someone, because being a contribution is really contributing to the person's life in certain ways, but not being dependent on that person, not like some relationships are, the one partner is dependent on the other person to make money, or the other person to listen to them when they have their certain things or respond a certain way, and that's their role to do that. You know, those are not necessarily contributions. Maybe in some degree it works for them, but it's not. It's like, as Edith is a contribution to me, it's like she has her own life that she's living independent of me. I have my own life that I'm living independent of her, and we contribute to each other back and forth. And my life isn't dependent on her. You know, my life is greater. I'm able to create more because of her contribution. If I were by myself, I would still create my life, and it would just be different. I wouldn't create as much, or wouldn't create the things that I create because of her influence or her contribution in that way. So it's about allowance, for sure, about allowing their points of view. And I think what Edith, what I recognize is when she recognizes that my point of view is the right point of view, and she just allows it and accepts it as the truth, you know, then things go very well. Yeah.
I got it. I finally got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about doing whatever works. It's not about the way I desire it, the way you're supposed to be. It's like the gator becoming your pet. It's not about Miles has to be a certain way for me to be happy. Miles has to be a certain way for me. And when I realize that there's something in Miles that disturbs me, it's time for me to look at my life. Okay, what is it here that I'm not doing for me? What is it that I'm not being here for me? What is it here that I have to create for me? So everywhere you put yourself dependent of another person in order for you to be in a relationship with the person, because you believe that being in a relationship with the person, you have to become independent. You have to become dependent of the person, or needy of this person. Well, you know, and create and destroy it all times a godzillion.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, online shorts, boys and beyonds. There seems to be something like ingrained in this reality about how, it's just like this weird thing about that. It's that the more that we're dependent on the person, then the more, for example, like now this process of becoming a needless relationship is what we have and what we're getting more of. It's not completely needless, but we're moving more and more in that direction. The more that we are in that space of being needless, it's like there's this, like the other day, I had something that I wanted to do, and I invited Edith to go with me. And she asked the question, would it be a contribution to her to do this? And it really wasn't much. It didn't really offer her much. And I was like, I wanted her to go with me. but yet she honored what she desired to do and to do something else. That's being needless. That's like, otherwise, you know, she would say, okay, well, I'll go, and she'll go with me, and then she'll have a whatever experience. But yet she's not honoring herself in that way, and she's not honoring the potency that she can be, you know. And it's like the same for me. It's like she wants to do something. She asked me to go do something, and recently I was like, I'd rather not, and I would rather do this. And she's like, okay, cool. And so I did that, and I had a different experience or different time than if I would have gone with her to a certain event. So that's, and what the point I wanted to say was, in that moment, she felt like wrong for not going with me, and I felt like this sort of thing, like I should go with her. That's the thing that I want to talk about. It's like there's this ingrained energy that when we go against it, when we go more toward what we truly desire, there's that thing that's like, hey, no, oh, that's the wrong path. You got to stay here, stay small, and be part of the group, and stay in this energy of the norm. You know, and that's the part where, if you can make that choice to recognize that, okay, this is just a point of view, that this reality says that the relationship has to be a certain way, or my role in a relationship has to be a certain way. If you can just ask questions like Edith does, and like I do, about what will this contribute to me if I do this? Would it be better if I could do something else? Or, you know, what might life be like in 5 years? One of those questions. And then you might have a better idea of in what direction to go, instead of thinking that, oh, well, you know, it's like I'm supposed to be a certain way with this person, or this is just, I'm obligated to do that because we're in relationship, or we're in married, or whatever it is. It's, you know, what else is possible? So anyway, that's the point I wanted to touch on. So everywhere that we've bought into this is weird, this gravel energy, I don't know why I said that, but just this thing that's like this energy, gravel energy of, which doesn't make any sense, of having to follow this reality in what the reality says of the way the relationship is. Everything that is, we now destroy and uncreate all that times Godzillion, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And you can not listen if you want to, Miles. And before Miles, before I met Miles, I've been living alone for almost 20 years. Well,
19 years, 10 months.
11.
11 months and 9 days, something like that.
7. I counted just, one day I counted just for fun, because someone would have told me that, hey, you're going to live alone by yourself for almost 20 years. I would have said, are you crazy? Because I was that kind of person who was like very dependent. And I was, you know, living a relationship, and less than 3 months after, or sometimes 2 days later, I was with someone else. And for me, it was not a problem. I was solving, hey, that was like, it's better this way for me. And yeah, so I learned during this time to live for me, to have my space, to give myself space. So when I arrived, we began the relationship together. It was another learning for me to do. And it seems like as much as I desire to be in relationship with it seems like all the pattern from the past just came up. And during this almost 20 years, of course, I met a few men, and I had a few relationships, but I knew it was not the one that I knew. And that's the thing, I knew this thing, I want to go there. We often know in the first 15 seconds if the person is a good match for us or not. We know. I with Miles, well, maybe that was not this thing, but before Miles, I knew when I was meeting men, I knew in the first 15 seconds, no. And at the beginning, I was doubting of that, and then I realized, hey, stop doubting, because when I met men, and I realized, yeah, it really is the way that I saw it, that I perceived it. What if this is your knowing? So everywhere you sabotage, or you squeeze, or you, how do we say, is it squeeze?
Yeah.
Twist. Yeah, you twisted your knowing to try to fit in this reality, or to try to fit in the desire of the other person. No. Yeah. Well, I'm create and destroy at all times a godzillion.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, on his shorts, boys and beyonds. There's something about that too, about in this reality, about coming from the emotional attraction of something, like or someone. Like I've been listening to like the sitting on the dock of the bay kind of music on Pandora, and there's all this music about joining people's lives, and you found the one that they love, and their life is there's no life without them, and all this stuff that's dependent kind of energy about love and relationships in the old songs and the new songs now as well. And yet there's this energy of this emotional attraction, like when we see someone and there's like this emotional, crazy kind of like attraction to them. It's like having the awareness, asking questions about really what is that energy, and will that energy contribute to my life, or is there some other kind of compatibility that would suit you better? Like with Edith and myself, the energy of that can't live my life without you, kind of like just out of my way, crazy, let me get close to you, was not there. It was like a different kind of a subtle, more welcoming energy that was just different. Like when I first met Edith, well, it was like quite a few little scenarios that happened there. But when we got together, we were doing a body process. And it's like when I put my hands on her, I realized that this is where I wanted to be. It wasn't like I just wanted to jump her bones. And it was just like this energy of this quality of energy. I guess that's what I say. Just the quality was what resonated with my body, number one. And it just is like, it just felt like home, to put it simply. And that's where it began, was just us both recognizing that there's some quality of energy that we tapped into when we were together that we wanted to explore. And it wasn't about, going out in the bars and getting drunk and seeing the person across the room and thinking, oh my God, it was different. It's just a different kind of quality of energy. And I had a friend of mine who described relationships like you've got this peak relationship and then it drops off. And then there's this kind that gradually builds and builds and builds, and there's more to it, and it adds and creates contributions, and that's more of what we have, is just more of the slow burn, like the building slowly and just just continuing to expand and increase, and in that, because like you just said, we still have issues with each other, and we still clear things, and it's really having issues with ourselves, like she said, and and not putting it on the other person, just realizing, okay, I'm stuck somewhere, I've bought into some point of view or some thing that believe that I should be living out. So yeah, everywhere that we've bought into the reality that there is still some roles that we play, everywhere that we've bought into the definitions of what relationships mean, what being a partner means, being what out of relationship means, being all the definitions, the computations, expectations, conclusions about relationships, we now destroy and uncreate all those times a godzillion.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all nine shorts, bows and beyonds. And the thing is that we talk about that when we met. Well, maybe not when we met, because I guess it was not time. But we talk about it a little bit later in our relationship. And Bob is not the kind of man that I would have gone to. And I'm not the kind of woman he would have been attracted as well. This physical attraction, this chemical people say, oh, I don't have this, the how do we say that in English, the chemical?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't,
yeah.
Yeah, there's like
The
that kind
emotional
of,
sort of,
yeah, there's like, it has to have this, that kind of attraction to the other person. What if it's not necessary?
and what if that's just a sign that maybe that's not the right relationship for you?
Yeah, yeah. I was like this before. I knew, I thought that it was about, the passion and about, the butterfly in the stomach, and you become, if this is that, if you feel this way with someone, it's probably that there is a vows, communities, somewhere that you had with this person in a past life, and that it's still in place. And, or it could be too that, okay, maybe in a past life you killed him or he killed you, and who will kill the other one in this lifetime. So yes, okay, so so all the vows, oath, swearing, communities, fealties, commitments, promises, contract he had with all the lovers in all times, dimensions, and realities. Will you now and create and destroy at all times a godzillion.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah, I want to add to that a little bit that it's not that it's wrong to have those kinds of butterflies and emotions and all that stuff. It's not wrong. You can have a great relationship with that. I mean, I'm not saying that that is indication of this person is bad for you. It's not. It's just that if you're relying on that as a marker for what makes a good relationship, that really limits the possibility of what you could have. Like it does. Yeah. So we could, do you have something you want to say, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So how did I know that Miles was the person I could create with my life?
Did you ask a question?
Yeah, I asked a question. I asked a question. I asked a question. Yeah, that's what I did, because I knew that, I think I did. I knew that I would meet someone who would be different from the men that I met in the past. But I didn't know what kind of man it would be. And when I went to the ESB, my body was so vibrant. Oh! And I said, what is it? What is there? What is it for me in this class? And what I received as consciousness, as an awareness, was at the end, you will be in a space where you will create. You'll be in a space where you could create infinite possibilities. I said, "Wow, that's cool." I don't know if it was possible. I never thought of that before. So when I met Miles during this class. First, my body, when I saw him, sent me a signal along my spine, and I knew that there would be something, my body would talk to me in my spine. I knew it, but the thing is, I didn't know it would be that kind of energy, so I didn't recognize it at the beginning. And okay, I'll go faster. And it's when I asked the question, if I choose to live my life, if I choose to be in a relationship with Miles, what will my life be in 5 years? And what I receive as awareness, you will be in a space to create infinite possibilities. And it's like, what? Wow. I was not expecting that at all. And I still have this question, and it's still there. So I begin this relationship through the awarenesses that I got when I asked the question. I said, okay, this is that. And we had to clear, and all the conclusion that came with that, okay, so if I can build that with him, it means that it will be this way. We're going to do this, and it's going to be this way. It never shows up the way that we expected. Yeah. And yeah, so we had to clear so many demons at the beginning. So in your relationship, look at this. Okay, are there demons in between us in the relationship? So there were a lot of shit, because it was not our first lifetime that we were together. So, and there are still memories. It's true. I don't have I don't focus on that anymore. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. So I had memories of our past life, and that was not always joyful. So, oh my goodness. No.
He was so mean to me. Oh my God. So mean to me.
So, and what I want to say here is when we include consciousness in our relationship, instead of keeping our idea, keeping our conclusion, keeping our judgment in place, because this is what hurt us and what hurts the relationship, is when we continue to feed the judgment, to feed the conclusion, to feed, I want it that way, I want you to change. Because since I'm taking care, I'm creating my life, I'm using a lot of my time right now to create my life, to create my business. And it's really something that I feel I chose something that makes me vibrate. So I feel good with myself. And when, observe that in your own life, when you feel good, you can allow, it's so much easier to allow people to choose whatever they choose for themselves.
Yep.
And I think for me, the great, I don't want to say lesson, because we lessen ourselves when there's a lesson. Yeah, thank you. The great awareness for me is the more I allow Miles to live his life the way he desired to live, the way he desired to create it, the easier it becomes for me, the easier it becomes for him, the easier it becomes for our relationship. So everywhere you believe that a relationship has to be this way, the other person has to be this way, so all the expectation that you have of you, of the relationship, of the other person, and all the definition that you have of what a good relationship is, well, and create and destroy it all times a godzillion.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, online shorts, boys and beyonds. So leave the gator alone, let the gator be. So what you're saying actually is, if you include consciousness in your relationship, it's like having the ultimate three-way. Is that what you're saying? Wow. I like that. Also want to say quickly that if pragmatically, it's like creating a relationship that works for you. It's like there's maybe trying to tame the gator is something that works for you. Great. Go for it. It's just what works for you. Like whatever, like instead of going by the definitions of what relationships are supposed to be or what partners are supposed to be or any of that stuff, it's just ask questions like what would work for me in this relationship? Does it work for me? Or if it doesn't, what could work for me? Does that work for me to stay in the relationship? Does it work for me to move out of the relationship? Does it work for me to, whatever. Just ask lots of questions and be open to having something new, having a different reality in relationships, because it's really the only limitation to a relationship is all the points of view that we have that defines it as a relationship. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be a certain way or has to include something or exclude anything. It can just be whatever you desire to have it. And finding someone that is compatible energetically with you, and also that they're willing to let go of their point of view in honor, or not in honor, but in the pursuit of total awareness. It's like having the limited points of view only stops the relationship from moving forward, and that doesn't feel so good. Look around, there's so many of that already happening. So yes, everywhere that you're not willing to choose for you and not willing to create the pragmatic relationship that would give you, all of you, will you now destroy and uncreate all that times a godzillion, please?
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all nine shorts, bows and beyonds. And I want to talk here a bit about the contribution. Contribution is not about, and it can include whatever the other person does for us. It's about the being, the person, the Miles being for me is such a gift. Is a being is such, when I saw him the first time physically, the words that came for me was restless, and peace.
Restless?
Rest. No, restful. Sorry.
Restful. That's like this.
No, it was restful.
Okay.
English sometimes. Restful and peace. And this is what I learned to live in my life, to be restful, because I was like this in my life. And peace. Restless.
Great.
And yeah, is being, and my body enjoys so much his body. When I touch his body, there's something that is such a contribution for me. Look at this. If you're in a relationship with someone, does your body like to touch the other person? Does your body like to be touched by the other person? Yeah. Okay, so everything that is brought up will you create and destroy it all times a godzillion.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket, online shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah.
And everywhere you have defined what contribution is and how the other person has to contribute into your life. Well, you know, on create and destroy it all times a godzillion.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket, online shorts, boys and beyonds. Well, should we wrap it up for another week?
Yeah, well, I would like to say that we talk a lot about our relationship.
Yeah.
It's not to show, hey, look how good we are. It's not about that. It's about, hey, it works. It can work for you too. If you are ready, as you said, to let go of your point of view and be or choose to be or choose to do whatever is required for the relationship to work, and for you and for the other person. So yeah, it's about choosing. It's about doing whatever works, and for you and for the other person as well.
Yeah. Also, oh, do you want to clear that? So everything that is destroyed, uncreated, that times godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket, on shorts, boys and beyonds. Also want to add quickly that it's not, there's no conclusion about this relationship that Edith and I have. You know, it's like we're choosing to be in a relationship, and tomorrow we may choose something different. You know, we just, for whatever reason, you know, so it's like everywhere that you've bought into the idea that relationship means the end of all time and that you're stuck once you get into it, will you destroy and uncreate that times a godzillion, please?
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah. Have fun in your relationship. And that's one of the things that I learned in a relationship, is to have fun. Thanks to you, Miles, and your playful energy.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, the more I take care of me in this relationship, the more I take my space, the more I live in my space, I am my space, I am present to myself, the more I allow Miles to be whoever he chooses for himself. And there is something that is right now in our relationship that is shifting. There is like, this is so cool. This is lighter. This is so light right now. There's fun. There is really something new in a new space. We are in a new space. So what would it take for you to allow yourself to have, if you are in a relationship, to allow this relationship to move on in a new space, and all the connection point and the stability point that are in place that prevents you from moving forward in your relationship? Will you now create and destroy it all times a godzillion?
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket, online shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah, I want to add here too, the more, Edith, that you're in this space of creating your own life, and the more space you have for me, which is weird. It's like the opposite. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. It's weird. It's like you think that, well, if I just focus on this other person, then now I'll create space for that person to be in my life. But no, it's like the more I focus on my life, the more space I have for Edith to join me and to be a part of it. It's backwards. So everywhere that you're making everything the opposite of what it appears to be, will you destroy and uncreate all that times godzillion, please?
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all nine shorts, bohemia. And that's a great tool to use in your relationship. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Say it. If you are dealing with some kind of turmoil in your relationship, just repeat that over and over again. And you will see your judgment, your conclusion will disappear.
Yep.
Slowly disappear. If you don't stay attached to them. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. We could talk for that for
a bit longer, but we'll stop here. We'll talk another time. We'll have another podcast on relationships, I'm sure. We have something else to share. Maybe a zebra or something will pass our by, and we'll have some other metaphor.
What kind of animal will pass by here? And
I like the pink birds with the spoonbill. That's one of my favorite birds. Like, they're pink and they get the wide spoonbill. They go through the water. It's so cool to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and we'll
see
you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and please give us a honk of support by subscribing, commenting, and sharing the show with your friends. Or, if you didn't like the show, please share it with your enemies.
See you guys later. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great week, and happy Groundhog Day if you're in the U.S.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.